He comes into the temple. This is his first time. Matthew, the 21st chapter. Let's read that together. When he entered the temple area, the chief priests and the elders of the people came to him while he was teaching and said, "By what authority are you doing these things, and who gave you this authority?" But Jesus responded and said to them, "I will also ask you one question, which if you tell me, I will also tell you by what authority I do these things. The baptism of John was from what source? From heaven or from men?" And they began considering the implications among themselves, saying, "If we say from heaven, he will say to us, then why did you not believe him? But if we say from men, we fear the people, for they all regard John as a prophet." And answering Jesus, they said, "We do not know." He also said to them, "Neither am I telling you by what authority I do these things. But what do you think? A man had 2 sons, and he came to the first and said, 'Son, go work today in the vineyard.' But he replied, 'I do not want to.' Yet afterward, he regretted it and went. And then the man came to the second son and said the same thing. And he replied, 'I will, sir,' and yet he did not go. Which of the 2 did the will of his father?" They said, "The first." Jesus said to them, "Truly I say to you that the tax collectors and prostitutes will get into the kingdom of God before you. For John came to you in the way of righteousness, and you did not believe him. But the tax collectors and prostitutes did believe him. And you, seeing this, did not even have second thoughts afterwards so as to believe him." Please be seated. Orlando, come on up, man. Come on up. Where's Orlando at? Orlando, come on up on the front row. Orlando's going to help me preach the message today. I want you to think from the topic, results matter. Results matter. Results matter. So we think about our life. We say, well, do results really matter? I can kind of flow whatever I want to do. I can flow in and out. Do results really matter? And so I would have you to know that results do matter. Results matter with us individually. Results matter for us as a church. And results certainly matter for God. And so as we look at this passage, it's interesting because Jesus comes in, and Jesus has done lots of things. He's walked on water. He's fed 5,000, which was probably 10,000. He fed 4,000, which was probably 8,000, 9,000. He healed 10 lepers. He healed other lepers. He brought people back from death. He did all these things, and they know who he is and his reputation. They know who he is, so he's done these things. And so when he walks in, he has already established success. He is already established. I'm on point 1 right now. And let me speak to our young people, because our young people are about to go to school. Some are about to go to college. Just stand for a moment. Kent State Flasher. Now she said, "I ain't standing much." Said, "Don't put me on Front Street, Pastor." And so she's about to, and so when you start, as you're about to start school, especially as you're about to start college, that is a time that you begin to build success. Because if you want to have life where God really blesses you in the John 10:10 way, I came that you might have life and have life more abundantly, you have to begin building success as a teen and young adult. You got to build the success. And what Jesus had done, by the time he got to Jerusalem, he had actually built success. And what you do is you build success, and then after you build success, you build on that success. And so many people in the room, if you've been married for over 60 years, you had success in the first decade, and you keep building on it, and you keep building on it. And so for all of us here, the way to get to results is you have to have a success orientation. I want to be successful. Can you pull up the first picture? Yeah, just make it a little bit larger. And so what I have here is, it says, success does not lie in results, because sometimes people just want to get to the end. Can you give me my money? Can you give me? No, you got to put something in. You got to work at it. You got to work at it. Jesus worked at it. Jesus worked at it. The success that they were seeing and acknowledging when he first came in is that he had effort. Being the best is not so important. Doing the best is what matters. It's not always going to be that we're always going to get it right. And so what then happened, I'm going to point 2 here. And so when Jesus gets there, because he has been successful, they are questioning his success. Because he has been successful, they are questioning his success. Look at if you will, at verse 23. They say, by what authority are you doing these things, and who gave you this authority? And so there are 3 parts to the question. It's in law school, they tell you not to do compound questions. Just ask one question. But they say, authority, where's the authority come from? And then they say, these things. They don't identify the things that Jesus did. And then they say, who? Those are the parts of the question. And here's what I need you to know. When you have been successful, people are going to question your authority and success and challenge it. Let me say that again. When you have been successful, people will question your success and authority, because what they want to do is they want to bring you down. They want you to have doubts about that. Let me give you some examples. And people always question my authority, and I kind of laugh at it. So there's this thing that I'm involved in, and somebody was asking for authority to do something. They were asking for authority to do something. And so the boss asked for authority to do something. I was like, yeah, go ahead and do it. When I showed up, this was last week, when I showed up and they were doing the thing, there was a person, I walked up and I was going into the place. And the person walked up as though I was not supposed to be there. And the person said, can I help you? Can I help you? But not only can I help you, the person then said to me, are you the maintenance person? Now, I'm good with being the maintenance person because we need maintenance people. But there was an assumption there about my authority. Now, Gibson didn't say anything. Gibson just smiled. It's like, no, I'm just going in the door. So people will question your authority. People will question the authority. And then people will also ask you, when you've been successful, how did you get there? I can't tell you how many people still ask me, how did you all buy this campus? They see the stuff that's going on, and they see it, and like, I don't know if I look like I'm poor. I don't know if that's just how I look, because I don't wear suits and ties and everything. But several times a year, somebody will ask me, how did you buy this place? Now, that's deep, right? Because there are a lot of assumptions in that, right? Because I could be independently wealthy, and I could have come from I ain't messing with nobody. So people will question your authority, and that's fine. That's fine. When you have success, when people question your authority and question those things, then don't get caught up in that. Let me go to the next point. I'm going to go to point 3. Because Jesus could have gotten mad when they questioned his authority. When the person came to me and said the other day, are you the maintenance person? I could have got mad. But that was not my assignment. And so sometimes when people challenge us and question our authority, we want to fight with them. And what I love about Jesus here, Jesus understands that is not the time to fight with the chief priests. And so sometimes we get so caught up in the fight cycle. We want to fight everybody. There's no fight that, we want to fight because we want to win. And what I love about Jesus is Jesus does not fight them here. How many of you all get in a fight a month? Too much. couples, I bet if you talk to the Parkers and you ask them how many arguments they have, like real arguments a year, I'm guessing it's going to be less than 5. I'm guessing if you were to ask the Starks, they might have some disagreements every now and then, but in terms of like when they really get mad at each other, it's single digits. It's single digits. And so when you get in the fight cycle a lot, that means that you're not operating on God's plan, because we don't see Jesus fighting all the time and arguing with people. He steps away from the fight. He backs up. And so if you don't believe me, look at where he retreats. He says, I'm not even going to answer your question. I'm not even going to get engaged in that. I know you sent out the bait for me and you want me to bite it. I ain't doing it. Look at John the 8th chapter, because this was not the only time that Jesus retreated from the fight. John the 8th chapter, he says they're pressing him on what he's done, his success. He says, you are not yet 50 years old. They're talking to Jesus. They said to him, and you have seen Abraham? Very truly, I tell you, Jesus answered, before Abraham was born, I am. That's a strong statement, because he's talking about his divinity there. And he says, at this, they picked up stones to stone him, but Jesus hid himself, slipping away from the temple grounds. He could have wiped them out in the moment, but he knew that he had a bigger mission. When you lose your temper, when you get off task, when you fight and God has not called you to fight, then you slow down and diminish the mission. And God wants you to get to victory quickly rather than slowly. Sometimes we have fights that we aren't supposed to fight. How many fights have you had recently that you were not supposed to have? Everybody got quiet, all right. You can, in your spare time, look at 2 Timothy, the 2nd chapter, the 4th chapter. It reminds us that we remember who our commanding officer is, that God is our commanding officer. And if he has not told you to engage in that fight, don't do it. Let's go to the next thing. But here's what Jesus does. They say to him, he says, tell us the authority that you have in these things, and who gave you the authority. And so because they did not identify these things, Jesus then makes a declaration. You're going to talk about what I did in a general way. Let me get specific for you. You're going to talk about these things. Let me make a declaration of the work that I've been doing. And then what he does, he says, listen, here is the work that I've been doing. I have been working with tax collectors, publicans, schemers, and prostitutes. He says, you're talking about it in a general way. Let me tell you who I have been focused on. I have been focused on the publicans, the tax collectors, and the prostitutes. So let's put some names on it. Let's make it be specific here, because here's who we all need to focus on. And so why does he focus on the tax collectors? The tax collectors were the schemers of the day. The tax collectors would not only collect the property taxes, which in our county were due just a few days ago, but they would also collect the tolls. So if you were traveling, they would collect the tolls, but how much you paid would sometimes vary. And so I don't know about you, like I don't even like paying tolls on the highway. Like, can I just get there? Can I just get there? And it used to be in Florida where they would stop you around Orlando. They would stop you every 3 exits. I was like, this is ridiculous. Like, can I just pay at the beginning, at the end? They changed a little bit. But they had all these tolls. And I don't like paying the tolls anyway. And so as the result, the people did not like the tax collectors because they were the schemers. Let me just make it plain today. So we have, you might say, well, there are no schemers today in our society. Almost every industry, almost every organization in our country has some scheming in it. Go to your mechanic. I'm not talking about the shade tree mechanic. I'm talking about, but go to Midas, and what they will do, they will diagnose your issue. They'll put it into the computer, and the bill is always going to be at least $600. There is a program that they have. This is real talk. There's a program that they have that is desired to get them to a certain income level. And so when they come in, they're trying to, every person who comes in, they want to at least get $600 out of that person. And then they will begin to add things that you don't need. They're going to fix everything on the planet. Things that your car will never need. And so there is an element of scheming that takes place there. Try to, the next time you go to the doctor, or to get, how is it that you can have a surgery and the surgery will cost $35,000 and the surgery was 45 minutes? And I just challenge you to go through the bill and figure out why the pills cost $400 a pill in the hospital, but if you get it at CVS, it's different. I ain't messing with I'm just talking the facts here. There is some scheming that's going on. There was a pastor that I was talking to who lives in Detroit, and he had a son who had epilepsy during COVID, and there was a shortage of the pill. In order to get the pill in the U.S., it was going to cost him about $2,000. If he rode right across the bridge into Canada, it was less than $200 for the same pill. And so why is it that it would cost $2,000 for the pills here in the United States and $200 there? There is some scheming that's going on somewhere. And Jesus said, I want to get to the schemers. I want the schemers to be part of the kingdom. Those who we would discard to say, no, we don't want the schemers to be part of it. We can't trust them. Jesus said, I want the schemers to be part of the kingdom. Let me show you. One of the first people he called was a schemer. Matthew, the 9th chapter. As Jesus was walking along, he saw a man called Matthew sitting at the tax booth, and he said to him, follow me. And he got up and followed him. And as he sat at dinner in the house, many tax collectors and sinners came and were sitting with him and his disciples. Imagine if I invited all of the schemers to the spot. We invited all the people who had robbed you, who had stole from you, who had charged too much. And we said, we inviting you to the fellowship meal after service. Somebody like, no, not today. Somebody say, Pastor, I serve on the hospitality committee. I am not serving today. I'm not coming. But continue on. He says, why does your teacher eat with tax collectors and sinners? But when he heard this, he said, those who are well have no need of a physician, but those who are sick. Go and learn what this means. I desire mercy, not sacrifice, for I've come to call you not to righteousness, but sinners. And then Luke, the 19th chapter. I love the way that Jesus does this. And it says, and Jesus entered and passed through Jericho, and behold, there was a man named Zacchaeus, which was chief. So he was hanging out with the schemers, but then he went to the chief. He went to the chief schemer. Think about that person, whatever your political affiliation it is, if you like this person or that person, imagine that Jesus went to the person that you really didn't like. So if you really don't like Trump, or if you really don't like Biden, that's who he went to. He says he went to the chief among the publicans, and he was rich. And he sought to see Jesus, who he was, and could not for the press, because he was little of stature. And he ran before and climbed up into a sycamore tree to see him, for he was to pass that way. And when Jesus came to the place, he looked up and saw him and said, Zacchaeus, make haste and come down. For today, look at what Jesus says. He says, I must come to your house. Jesus says, I know that you are the chief schemer, and I got to come to your house. I must. You are the worst sinner in the house. I must come to your house. Man, I love Jesus for that moment. Because no matter how crazy your sin or my sin is, Jesus says, I must come to your house. Jesus says, I must come to your house. That's good, that's good, that's good. I must come to your house. He's on a mission, he's on a mission. But not only does he do that, not only does he hang out with schemers, but he also hung out with prostitutes. No, he can't. Jesus can't hang out with a prostitute. If I said today, listen, when I leave here, I'm going to hang out with the prostitutes. For real. If I said that. You all know when we were on Holton, at 79th and Holton, there were prostitutes there many Sundays. And I did go talk to them. And one of them joined. So, but if I said it today, they're like, well, no, you did it then. But if I said it today, they're like, no, I ain't going back. I'm not going to a church where the pastor hangs out with prostitutes. That just ain't right. But Jesus did it. Some of y'all looking like I'm crazy. Let's look at it. Luke, the 2nd chapter. One of the Pharisees asked him to eat with him. And he went into the Pharisee's house and reclined at the table. And behold, a woman of the city. They never call her a prostitute. And I like the anonymity there. I like the respect that they give her. But they call her a woman of the city. A woman of the city who was a sinner. When she learned that he was reclining at the table of the Pharisee's house, she brought an alabaster flask of ointment, and standing behind him at his feet, weeping, she began to wet his feet with her tears and wiped them with her hair and her head and kissed his feet and anointed them with the ointment. Now when the Pharisees who had invited him saw this, he said to himself, if this were a prophet, he would have known who and what sort of woman this is who is touching him, for she is a sinner. She came in EBC today, and she hugged Pastor hard, and she kissed him on the cheek. And if Pastor knew who she was, Pastor would not have taken that hug. Pastor would have said, don't kiss me on the cheek. And so that's the situation. And then Jesus goes on to explain, when I came in, you didn't show me the same sort of love that she showed. And out of her sense of forgiveness, because she knows that she has been forgiven a lot, she is grateful. When you know that you've been forgiven a whole lot, you are grateful. Why do you see me sometimes act a fool? Because I'm grateful. I'm grateful for how God has delivered me and blessed me. I know how much God has blessed me. And so I like that. I like that the prostitutes are there, the prostitutes are there. And so when we look at this, he makes a declaration, and he says results matter. Minister P, can you come up for a second? Come on up. And so Jesus is showing that results matter, that the schemers and the prostitutes deserve attention and deserve love and to be saved. And so the question becomes, do results matter for us? Do results matter for us? Because, it's like, well, the church, we're successful. We got people in the house, and we got a campus, and we got stuff and going on, and got people online. That's some success. But I would have you to consider that those are not our best results. Big O, Orlando. He's like Mariah. He's like Mariah. He's like, I ain't really trying to be here about this, okay? Orlando, what's your full name?
Orlando Jenkins.
Orlando Jenkins. Orlando Jenkins. And what happened in your life last couple months?
I just graduated high school.
You just graduated from high school. Okay. But so, college is not the path, though, right? Is college the path?
No.
Okay, so college is not the path. And so if college is not the path, when some of your classmates next month begin to go to school and they begin to go to college, what's the path for you?
Trade school.
So you think trade school?
Yeah.
And we talked about that a little bit. But I'm going to question that for a moment. Because how old are you?
17.
So 17, and I believe what calls Orlando and most of our young boys and girls is not trade school, but what's going to call you and what's been calling you is the streets will call him. The streets are going to call you hard because, you want to go to trade school, but somebody's going to come and say to you, listen, you can make more money. You can make more money. And so, listen, I need to tell you this. And so, and you may not have hung out with them, but when they're selling weed and they're out, and so if you go, do you know how they describe it, what they're doing? What do they say? What do they say they're doing?
What you mean?
Let me help you out. So if I just go with this. So with some of the guys that I've hung out with in those places, so if I go out and I'm on Community College Boulevard around 30th or 40th, and let's just say hypothetically I'm having a conversation with them. Hypothetically, right? And they'll say to me, Pastor, we're serving. That's the term they use. The term they use is not dealing drugs, but they'll say, Pastor, we're serving. That's deep, isn't it? Because the church serves. The church says, Orlando's laughing. They say, that's how they describe their work. We're serving. We're serving. When we're selling weed and we're selling crack, we're serving. That's deep, ain't it? That's deep. And so somebody's going to come to you, Orlando, and I know they've already come to you. They've already come to you and they said, hey, man, we need you to serve. And there ain't nobody else out there. We're going to be your family. We're going to pay you more money than anybody else would pay you. And you're going to get it quickly. You're going to have a nice car. And what we're doing is we're serving. Is there any chance that could happen to you?
No. I mean, yeah, but
you say no. I'm like, well, are you sure? Is there any chance that could happen?
Yeah.
Are they gonna come at you hard?
Yeah.
Why?
That's just how they come. I don't know.
They come hard. And so Orlando's biggest challenge going forward is that he's got temptation in the streets. And that temptation will call him hard. And when he has $500 $100 bills in front of him, and he doesn't have any money, and Amazon is saying, I'll pay you 17. which one would you take? And so the real deal, and we are putting our head in the sands if we don't acknowledge that what's before Orlando right now when some of his classmates go back to school is somebody's gonna offer him money next week. And they're gonna offer him free weed to start, to get him in the game, and then to get him to stay there. And so, if we do nothing, we know what the results will be. If we do nothing, then there is a better than 50% chance that this young man, Orlando, that everybody's smiling with, there's a better than 50% chance that he will do drugs, maybe be part of the Kia Boys, and end up in jail or dead. There is a better than 50% chance that that's what will happen to Orlando. Just trying to make it plain. Just trying to make it plain. And Orlando might say, no, I'm not going to do that. That's not going to happen. And so we had a conversation a few months ago, and you talked about your future. You talked about your future in terms of what you want to do. Tell us about that.
I wanted to...
Louder. Give us your outside voice, man. Give us your outside voice.
I wanted to start school for HVAC, but after that, I was going to try to get into real estate.
Okay, so your real goal is you want to do real estate.
Yeah.
You want to own homes?
Yeah.
How many homes you want to own?
As many as I can.
As many as you can. So that's his job. He doesn't want to go to college. He doesn't want to go to college. And we had this conversation. We had this conversation a few months ago in the office, and he says, I want to own these homes, Brother Pierce. I want to own these homes, Brother Pierce, but I know I don't have the money, and I gotta figure out the homes first. So if I figure out how to fix stuff in the homes, like I would not have thought about that at age 17. I've been like, okay, give me the home now. I want to buy the home. But Orlando is talking about, so if I understand, if I humble myself, and if I learn some things, and so you want to do HVAC. What's HVAC? Heating, ventilation, air conditioning. And so what is that?
It's like for air conditioning and stuff like that. So you can have heat and air in your house.
Like the air we have right now, right?
Yeah.
And so I gave you an assignment. I'm going to finish up soon, yeah, for real. This is good. I gave you an assignment. What was the assignment?
Search for schools around the area that I want to go to or look at.
And why did I ask you to do that?
So I can learn how to work towards and do information on my own.
Yeah, so I said, because he doesn't necessarily have a guidance counselor in this moment to say, okay, here's how you go to HVAC school. So I said, do the research, and then come back to me. Now, here's what happened. You can hit that one, Minister P. You can hit that one. You can hit that one off, yeah. And so Orlando sent a message through his mom, because I also said to Orlando I would help him get a job in HVAC, and I would connect him. So Orlando sent a message to his mom, hey, Pastor Gibson hasn't gotten me a job yet. To which I responded, I need to see you here on Sunday. Right, that was our conversation, right? Man, listen, I'm going to follow through on the promise, but I got to see you in the house. I got to see you in the house. And so we had that conversation. And so here's the launch of a new ministry. We're calling it Arise. And so here's what it is. I got to look at my notes. So here's what I need you to do. The first part of it is I need you to have a strong relationship with God, Jesus, and the Holy Spirit. Not just kind of coming, but I need you to read the devotional sometimes. And I need you, if you have questions about it, but I need God to be real in your life. That's what's most important. I need God to be real in your life. And it can't be your mom's faith. It can't be your sister's faith. It's got to be your faith. You got to know that God will bring you to your dreams. And that God will also keep you safe, and that God will give you the strength to say no. But the other thing I need you to do, so that's the first part. It's on the outline. And just make sure somebody gives them that. You can have my outline. So the first thing, the first requirement is that you have a strong relationship with the Lord. The second thing is your relationships, your human relationships have to be healthy and functional. So you got to respect mom and dad, and you got to be a big brother, especially to your two little brothers. But you got to be a big brother to Janae, so you got to be the right example. And you can't be disrespectful. So your mom can't come in and say to me, hey, you helped Orlando get this next step, but he's being disrespectful. He's not washing any dishes at home. Right? So that's got to be that, you know. And if you have a girlfriend, you got to respect her. If you have a child, you got to be a dad. And so the first thing is you got to have a good relationship with God. I'm doing my thing. I'm doing my thing. I'm doing my thing. You got to have a strong relationship with God. The second piece is you got to have healthy relationships with parents, brothers and sisters, and girlfriend. You got to have healthy relationships, and you got to make sure. And so those people who have relationships, and don't, the videos say that you do this and that to women. You just got to let that go. You just got to let that go. Third point. And so this is the contract. This is the contract. I got some people. I'm going to give them mine because it's highlighted. I got some people who will walk the journey with you. They will walk the journey with you. Minister Betts and Brother Mullins, would you stand? And Brother Hilliard, you can stand as well. You can stand. And so, I haven't asked them yet. But these three men, I'm going to ask them to walk with you because Minister Betts was an apprentice as an electrician. Brother Mullins was a painter in the trades, and Brother Hilliard, he was one of I think his dad may have been the first African-American in the trade unions for plumbers ever. And so I'm going to ask them to disciple mentor you, which means that once a week, one of them would call you. So it might be Minister Betts this week. It might be Brother Hilliard next week. It might be Brother Mullins. Or all three of them might call you 3 times a week. But they're going to call you because they love you. They got to say yes. They get that. If y'all don't say yes, I'm good. If you go ahead, have a seat. But I want to connect you with people. Now, when they call you and they give you advice and they say you got to do it this way, or if you're on the work site and you're having problems and somebody is trying to leverage you and somebody's doing something wrong, you can call them and you can get advice. But here's the other thing. So I called someone yesterday who is in HVAC. He's the best HVAC person in the city that I know. Like when we have big problems here in the city, on campus, his name is Tom Williamson. I called him yesterday, Brother Woods, at 8:25. I thought I lost my mind because I don't call anybody before 9 o'clock because it's too early. But God was working on me, and I said, Tom, listen, we got a young person, his name is Orlando, and I want him to go in HVAC. Can you tell me how much it costs to go in? And I said, would you mentor him? And he said yes. He works for one of the biggest HVAC. Go ahead, have a seat, y'all. He works for one of the biggest HVAC companies in this area. And he told me yes. So, strong relationship with God, strong relationship with humans. You got mentors to walk the journey with you. And then the last part. When God blesses us, we should serve not like they serve in dealing drugs. But we got to serve, and I need young people to serve. One of the things I love, so DJs in the back, Like DJ on first and third Sundays, DJ rolls in here to hang out with the young people. Dayelle was hanging out at the camp this week and hanging out because at your age, there are some who will listen to you, and you need to serve, do ministry, and reinvest to God's glory. When God gives you something, then you got to give it back. And don't tell them that Pastor Gibson did this or somebody else. If they ever ask you how it happened, tell them God did it. Tell them God did it. Smokey Norfolk sings the song, God did it. God did it. Now, so here's the deal. Do you know how much it costs? Do you know how much it costs to do the
Prices. I don't know, no, not the prices. No.
So I started doing the research yesterday, but you still got to finish the research. So to do HVAC school, is 12 months. It's 12 months, and it costs between $4,500 and $15,000. You got that much?
No.
Okay. So right now, and you haven't done the research yet, let's say it costs $4,500. Right now, I'm telling you that half of it is good. I'm telling you, y'all looking at me like that ain't in the budget. I'm telling you, half of it's good. I was in a meeting with pastors for Transparent Mint 2 days ago, and I was talking to them about this. And there's a pastor from Chardon, he was like, well, Gibson, how much does it cost? And he's like, if you're going to do something like that, our congregation will do it. And the next Transparent Men's meeting, I'm going to the men and I'm saying, we got 20 congregations, and I need all of us to come together because we need to support at least 7 Orlandos. So just so Gibson is accountable. So between now and August of next year, we want to launch 7 people. We want to launch 7 people that we're going to pay for, walk the journey. Oh man. Walk the journey with, because the streets will call you, and either the call from God and us has to be stronger, our voice has to be stronger, because if we don't do it, then Orlando is not coming back. Like our sons and daughters who have not come back, they're not coming back. But I'm not doing this until you finish the research. But if you finish the research, at least half, and y'all know when I say at least, it's probably at least half and more. At least half is done. And so it may mean that while you're going to school, and Tom Williamson did this, he said when he was going to HVAC school, he had to work at Wendy's. So it might mean that you're going to HVAC school during the day and you're working at Amazon at night. But most of us have worked 2-3 jobs all the time anyway. And so, but you know that you have a path. You know that you have a path. You have anything to say?
Thank you.
Oh, praise God, praise God, praise God. Have a seat, have a seat, have a seat. I'm gonna finish y'all, And pull up the pictures. And so, you know what that really means, and I'm just gonna be real with you because I've done the math in my mind. If we do seven people, it's probably $50,000 that we don't have now. But God's got it. I gotta look at Sister Bonnie. She said, I ain't even looking at you now. And so here's what the deal is. So we can say we're not gonna do this. And what the definition of sin is missing the mark. The definition, the real definition, ask Elder Stark. If you don't believe me, ask Elder Stark after service. He'll tell you that the definition of sin is missing the mark. And so if we never shoot any arrows, then by definition as a church, we are missing the mark. If we never invest in our young people this way, we are missing the mark. Go to the next picture. And I believe that we might invest in 12 people. And so I'm not just talking about HVAC. So if somebody wants to do STNA, if somebody wants to do phlebotomist, if somebody wants to do welding, and it's not just boys, it's girls. If you come, and if you're willing to go with this contract, we're going to do everything we can to get you there. Because I believe that if we do it, then we will hit the mark. We will hit the mark, and I trust God for it. I trust God that we'll do it. Let me finish up. Somebody said, man, he just blew the budget. He just blew the budget. Here's what I love about this passage. What Jesus says, he says that the tax collectors and the prostitutes are going to make it into the kingdom before you. Before you. Now that's pretty deep. That's pretty deep because there are probably some schemers in the house. And I'm guessing there's some schemers in the house. And what Jesus says is that if you got that good relationship with him, that you in. You in. That if you got some schemers, because of the blood of Christ, you get a chance to get in. Now, don't continue to scheme, but God has said that you got a pathway in. I'm grateful for that because I work for some corporations that schemed and I benefited from it. I'm just going to be honest. But then we got some prostitutes in the house too. Because I believe that the reason they didn't put prostitutes in there is that it was really those who are dealing with sexual immorality broadly. It could be fornication. I ain't going down the list, but I know we got some who fall in the category of sexual immorality in the house. And I'm grateful that God says you got a way to get in. You got a way to get in. But then if you're not a schemer, if you're not engaged in sexual immorality, that probably covers the rest of us in the house. Because we think that we're so good that I've been in church all my life. I went to BTU. I went to prayer meeting. I even tithe and I try not to do anything wrong. And I even do the prayer that says, I'm not as bad as the tax collector. I'm not as bad as the fornicator. I'm not as bad as the person who is gossiping. And what Jesus says, that there is a way in the kingdom for you and me. There's a way in the kingdom for those of us who are self-righteous. There's a way in the kingdom for those of us who think we got it all together. There's a way in the kingdom for all of us, and it's a big tent. I'm thankful that he died on a Friday. He got up on a Sunday morning because he died so that there would be results, so that all of us would be free. Pull up the last pictures. Jesus died so that there would be results. Jesus died so that we could have salvation. Jesus died so that I could have a conversation with Orlando. The first point that I made with Orlando is you got to have a strong relationship with God. And so Jesus gave me my relationship because he wants you to have a strong relationship with him. And that's why I'm here and we're here. And so I really need you to have that. Because if we're really going to have results, it's with those who may not have a relationship or don't have a strong relationship, that you will come to know that God will give you the desires of your heart. In Psalm 37, it says that he will give us the desires of our heart. In Proverbs, in the book of Proverbs, it also tells us that he will give us the desires of your heart. Those dreams that you have, God will do it, but only God can do it. Let's pray. Eternal and all-wise God, we thank you so much for this day. Lord, I thank you for giving us the opportunity to step forward. Lord, we know that the streets call Orlando and all of our other young brothers and sisters. And Lord, I thank you for the fact that you are calling us today for our voices to be louder. For our voices to be louder, to say that you want to have a relationship with Orlando and others, that he can have strong relationships with those around him, that there are those who will step up and mentor and disciple him, and that he will give you the glory. Lord, I pray that you would not only bless Orlando, but that you would bless this initiative that we're calling Arise, that our young brothers and sisters would not be called to violence and guns and drugs, but they would see the church doing something, of value in their lives, so that they can tell others that Jesus saves. In the name of Jesus, amen.